Welcome everyone to the Game Disc Podcast, where every week we discuss a specific video game, brand new, retro, or anything in between, and figure out if it's worth putting on our top 100 games of all time. I'm your host, Simon Esty, and today I'm joined by my co-host,
Noah Esty.
And today we're going to talk about the Kingdom Hearts series. Does Disney and Final Fantasy go together like chocolate and peanut butter, or is it more like toothpaste and orange juice?
Oh shit, I forgot to brush my teeth.
We will figure all of that out. But first, Noah, how are you doing today?
Not too bad. I bought a little present for my girlfriend, and I paid for it at the convenience store because in Japan, a lot of websites and such, you can buy things online and then pay for it at the convenience store if you don't have like a credit or debit card. Not all American.
That sounds inconvenient. The whole point of online shopping is to prevent the trip to the store. You've combined the worst aspects of online shopping with the worst aspects of in-store shopping.
The new point of online shopping now is to find stuff you can't find in stores. For me, I was actually able to get a very well-priced item. She doesn't listen to this podcast anyway. What about you, Simon? How are you doing today?
I'm still kind of getting over a cold. This isn't like the weirdest cold I've ever had. Thanksgiving was good. The fiance and I Christmased up the house yesterday. Last year, she bought an inflatable, but it is a moon with a Santa hat on it. But because it's a moon, instead of like the little white ball on Santa's hat, it's a star. And then there's a cat sitting on the moon trying to attack the star.
Oh, God.
And I told that to our sister. She's like, did she have this custom made? That is like your fiance to a T.
It really is. So you're currently in possession of Russ, correct? What you should do
is Russ hanging up in my garage.
Yeah. For those of you who do not know, Russ is a Halloween
member of the family.
He is a member of the family whom was kind of disowned by his last family. Pretty much the short version is we are looking at Halloween decorations, and I found for like 50% off this scarecrow guy, and I named him Russ after Russell Crowe because he's a scarecrow. Our family's not super into Halloween, but your fiance is, so
yes,
I donated him to them. So going back to it, you should try to hang Russ up and see if you can put a giant Santa hat on him.
Oh, that'd be cute. I'm sure he could. I mean, he's got a thick noggin.
Yeah, he does. Good old Russ. Do you have a humidifier?
No.
Oh, humidifiers are huge in Japan.
Was there anything else you wanted to say? I was gonna segue us into
it was about a humidifier, but you know what? We really don't need to talk about it unless the people listening are interested in my apartment and like the interior design and the style I have going for it.
I did create an email, which I will give out at the end of the show so that people can email us. And so if you are just a big fan of Noah's lifestyle, feel free to send an email and we can, I guess, spend more time talking about it, or maybe we'll just do another podcast where we just talk about your home living tips to live your best life.
Well, then we'll have to email Carlos afterwards and be like, yo, Carlos, how'd this podcast rank? It didn't even charge.
Probably. It's like, I can't even find anything about it. So let's just get right into it. It was Thanksgiving here. Probably kind of the biggest thing was that Steam has finally transitioned over some currencies in smaller regions over to USD. And what this has done is this has like drastically increased the price of certain games. For example, Stardew Valley has jumped 2,900% in price. And they're mostly doing this to prevent location spoofing. So what people in like the US will do is, because these are smaller countries with a weaker currency, their prices are lower. So people will set their region to Argentina or whatever, buy their games on Steam there and pay a lot less, even though they're living in the US where they have, more buying power. I get, publishers obviously do want to prevent that. Unfortunately, now gamers in Turkey and Argentina are paying the price for it. This is a bummer. It's people who aren't living in poorer countries are ruining it for
the people in poorer countries
who actually it's like. And how much are you really saving? Are you? Yeah, you're maybe saving.
Well, apparently quite a bit, according to how much Stardew Valley costs now.
Yeah, seriously. It's a bummer. So please
Yeah.
don't do that. Hopefully, individual publishers can kind of take a look at this and get their games priced accordingly how they should be. But what do you kind of make of all this?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really a shame. Piracy in those countries is definitely going to go up as a result of this. People, whenever like there's talk about piracy and such, people usually cite Steam as being like, if you make a good enough product, people aren't
Yeah.
going to want to pirate. And unfortunately, now this is just one of those things where it's like, yeah, what a 2,900% increase in price. Like, unfortunately, now it's to the point where it's like gaming on Steam is no longer viable in those places. So, a pretty big price difference. Unfortunately, a lot of people aren't going to be able to afford that, especially because Stardew Valley is a independent game. What about something like Call of Duty, like or Baldur's Gate, something that's just a big game that's going to be
Yeah,
insane.
and the article I cited did say that Call of Duty went from like $50 to
Mhm.
70. So I
Mhm.
mean, that's a pretty big jump. That is like I don't know what,
Yeah.
like 20%, a little bit
Yeah.
more than that, closer to
Yeah.
like 25%. I mean, that's gonna, like you said, that is gonna just have people turn to piracy, or they're gonna be
Mhm.
buying less games because their games are gonna cost a lot more. I mean, people here freaked out when our games went up $10, and that was
Yeah.
15%. And I'm one of those people. I mean, I think it's dumb.
Mhm.
I mean, I couldn't imagine games going from $50 to 70. That's a big jump. And
Yeah.
again, and it's a shame because it wasn't. It was
Well, and
because of things that were outside of their control. It was from
yeah,
people
and the thing
in our country.
exactly. Exactly. Once again, America's ruining it for everybody, for the rest of the world. Like, yeah, it's and I think that's the real shame is that they're punishing people that are had nothing to do with it. It's like there's collective punishment, which is punishing everybody when only one person did it. This is the opposite. This is punishing the people who didn't have anything to do with it to prevent the people that are abusing it. So, yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it's one of those things where it's like they could either do this and then be like that's what's happening, or they could try to make it a bit more difficult to like find out, try to make it more precise so that you can't do that, but I feel like that would cost a lot of time and money if it's even possible. And Steam is just like, you know what, this is just going to be the easiest way for us to do it.
Yeah. No, I agree.
Or, although curious to see how this affects the Epic Game Store. They if they're only USD, then probably won't affect it too much. But if they were kind of how Steam was done in the prior, I wonder how much that would affect them.
I don't even know if the Epic Game Store is
Available in those
available in
countries.
Argentina and Turkey, and if so,
But
they're
how do they
probably
play Fortnite?
they pirate it.
Shock.
Speaking of, I'm gonna have to go back. You set me up for a segue, and then you kept talking. So
Yeah,
pretend
I
like you
mean,
didn't make that comment about the Epic Game Store, because speaking of punishing the wrong people, Ubisoft is punishing its customers with ads. Um, those
what date is this? Is this 2019? Oh, never mind. It's 2023. My bad.
Yeah, yeah, seriously. So Ubisoft put an ad for Assassin's Creed Mirage and Assassin's Creed Odyssey. So basically, whenever you hit the map button, there was an update that rolled out. And whenever you hit the map button to bring up the map, because that's what the map button does.
Yeah, that's usually how that works.
Generally, an ad for Assassin's Creed Mirage would pop up.
Oh god.
And they claim, so Ubisoft claimed that this was unintended, and they meant for it to be only on the start screen, but somehow that rascal, that little scamp ad somehow worked its way into the game itself. I read an article about this. I didn't see Ubisoft actually apologize, only say it was an accident, which makes me think it wasn't an accident. If
Yeah,
it
what's
was
even
okay, if this is an accident, that's okay. Whatever, that was bad. I'm not really surprised if there was a company to do that. It would be Ubisoft.
Yeah.
This wasn't an accident, though.
No.
That's some bullshit.
It was clearly they did it, and then they were like, let's see if we can get away with this.
I almost feel like that's what it was. It was an accident, and then they were like, Well, actually, let's see how this plays out. Oh,
Exactly. And I
it's
think
like that sketch from I Think You Should Leave with the cheeseburger. I'm joking. I'm
I'm
joking.
well,
Ubisoft is that guy. They're like, I'm joking.
and
I'm joking.
this was for Mirage, correct? Okay. So this
Mirage.
was.
Yeah,
Oh wait, sorry.
Mirage.
So
You said Mirage.
I mean, I'm leaving this podcast. I'm starting my own.
That's fine.
um.
I'll bring Russ in here.
Yeah. Well, I'm taking Carlos with me, and then
I don't
But
think so. I
so
think
this
it's
was
my
for
email.
Ah, damn, you're right. So anyway, this was for the Assassin's Creed Odyssey for the
Yeah, this was
advertisement
the
for Mirage. So correct me if I'm wrong. Was Odyssey the one before Mirage, or was that
no, that was
Valhalla?
so it was Origins, Odyssey, Valhalla, Mirage.
Okay, so that's what I think is kind of interesting. They didn't do it with the last one. They did it with the one before. So I think that they were like, okay, a lot of people don't like buying annual releases, but they'll buy like
Yeah, it could have been.
biannually or semi-annually. So maybe if we do it for this one, we'll get those customers, and there will be less attention from the people buying Valhalla that
Yeah.
have Valhalla.
You might be
So-
right. Maybe that's why. Maybe that's why they did too. They were like, well, let's toss it in here, see if anybody makes a stink, and then of course, because I didn't really see I actually read this on The Verge. I didn't read it on like IGN or anything, so it could have been that it was like. I think this definitely flew under the radar, and it was also around Thanksgiving, so I think that I kind of feel like this was Ubisoft being a little shady.
What are you thankful for? I'm thankful for Assassin's Creed Mirage, now available on the PlayStation 5, the Xbox Series X, and PC.
And on Steam in Argentina for $4,000. Yeah, I think this is Ubisoft being shady. So, but I heard Mirage is good, but I don't know. Ubisoft is still. I feel like they're starting to maybe get a better handle on what they're doing, but they're still kind of garbage.
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it previously. Ubisoft, it kind of seems like the company's having an identity crisis. They don't really know what they are or what they want to be.
Well, they've been making one product for the past like 10 years, and people are kind of getting tired of that product, and they don't really know how to pivot into something else.
Yeah, I'd say if they didn't have Rainbow Six Siege, they would definitely be in trouble.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Yep. But I mean, we'll see. I've heard I guess their preview for their the Avatar game is actually decent, but we'll see. Speaking of companies that are in trouble, last week we talked about Embracer Group. Speaking of scamps, who they had to lay off like 900 people, and then we also mentioned a report that Knights of the Old Republic, which was announced at the PlayStation Showcase and that I think was PlayStation exclusive, was canceled. According to Drayson Schreier from Bloomberg, he said that he has reached. He's spoken with people who are claiming they are still working on this game. I mean, nobody in the industry is more reliable than Schreier, so most likely he did talk to people who are.
Circana is also pretty reliable, isn't he?
Yes.
we get a lot of information
Circana.
From that guy.
Yeah,
wait, that's an organization? I thought it was a dude who got knighted by like the Queen of England.
No, I think it is. I think it is CIRCANA.
Oh well, okay, that's my Sunday.
Formerly NPD Group. I don't think it was a man whose name was
well,
NPD
maybe
Group and then got knighted.
Nathan, Paul, Derek.
So Jason Schreier talked to people claiming they are still working on Knights of the Old Republic. He most likely did. I'm sure that there is. I doubt that this game is like completely dead. Yeah. However, we don't know who was like what the role of the people who were working on this. For all we know, they could have been developers. They could have been like people maybe building out some build of the game, like a small team. Yeah. Could also have been marketing people trying to get somebody to fund this game, because clearly there has to be something made for it. They were working on it for however long, but if Sony pulled out, they were most likely the ones funding it if it was exclusive, so they may be just trying to find a new fund. I still don't know if I see this game coming out. I mean, maybe Microsoft steps in and decides to fund this, but I just don't see Yeah, I just don't. I find Embracer's in such like a mess.
Yeah.
This game seemed like it was in trouble before Embracer even had problems.
Mhm.
I don't see how this one survives.
Yeah, because that's the thing. It's not just enough to be like, oh, we have a game, let's fund it and sell it. When you make these kind of business decisions, you have to examine all this stuff. And so, while maybe, yeah, you can get a good deal on this game because it's partially completed and Sony was footing the bill for a while, you also have to ask, is this really a company we want to do business with? A company that somebody just mentioned talking about the layoffs and restructuring. It's like, yeah, there's going to be more layoffs to come. Is that a company that you trust enough to fund their product? Or
Yeah,
is it one that you just say, you know what, this was a highly publicized game. We would have liked to have published it another time, but unfortunately, we can't take that risk as of right now. And
yeah,
yeah, especially because like Microsoft just mentioned, just bought Activision Blizzard, or the Activision Blizzard deal just went through. That's a lot of money, so they're going to need to take some time. Do they want to take a risk like this? Obviously, they're not buying Embracer Group, but still funding something like this. They're probably going to want to play it
that's
safe for a while.
no. You're not wrong. A Knights of the Old Republic remake is not. I mean, that's a big boy game.
Mhm.
Yeah. So, uh,
But another big boy game,
yeah,
Jet
another.
Force Gemini,
You
recently
kind
added
of
to
beat me
Switch
to it.
Online.
Yep.
Yep, no,
That's pretty much the news for that one. Jet Force Gemini was added to Nintendo Switch Online. For those who don't know, this was a Rare game. Rare, the company, not like a scarce game.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked this one as a kid. I tried playing it when I got my my Nintendo 64 whenever I bought it, like 10
Mhm.
rebought it. And it doesn't hold up particularly well, but it's cool that it's there. This is, I think, a title
Yeah.
that if you're going to have like a service that has all the Nintendo 64 games on it, this is definitely one that needs to be on there.
Yeah, the game is surprisingly gory, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of like Earth Defense Force gory, I think, where you like blow up bugs and ants and stuff. So it's not
I
real.
just,
No people
well,
die, just animals.
I just thought I remember like there's a surprisingly amount of blood in the game. Like, huh, that's surprising for Nintendo 64.
Yeah, it's yeah. Well, this was also when they thought children had three hands.
That's
Uh,
true.
so who knows what they were thinking?
Speaking of
Another
who knows what they were
company,
thinking.
yeah, company who knows what they're thinking. So GameStop currently has a pro reward membership where for like used to be $15. Then in last June they raised it to $25 a year, but every month you got a $5 certificate. And I would always tell people to do it because you can just use that $5 certificate to buy a digital currency. So, and it used to be like you could just buy a $5 Steam gift card. They then changed it so that you had to buy a $10 one, but you were still getting $5 off. So you could get a Steam every month. You could get a Steam or Nintendo or PSN or Xbox $10 certificate, $10 code for $5. And I told everybody to do it. And I just went into a GameStop a couple of weeks ago, and they said, nope, we don't do that anymore. And then I went to another one today, and they said, this is the last month. This sucks. I don't have much to say about it. I get why they're doing it, but at the same time, I will not be renewing. This was the only reason I did it. I would just like I used it to buy some battle passes for Overwatch. I used it to buy I used my last code to buy the Resident Evil 4 DLC, so I got that for $5. I used it to buy a couple of like Switch games and like some Switch DLCs. It was, I mean, yeah, $25 a year, and you just can every month get $5. But I will definitely not be doing that anymore, which is a shame. So just a heads up for anybody on that Pro Rewards membership. Maybe you'll have more luck. Like I said, one GameStop I went to wouldn't even do it this month. The other one I went to, they told me that this was the last month that they're allowed to do it. So
Yeah, I mean, I never really did it, but it sucks. It seems like it's one of those things where a lot of business decisions are being made lately, and curious to see how this will affect them. I mean, GameStop has been a weird company for a while now, so I'm not going to say like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, this is gonna destroy GameStop, but it is, of course, just one more step in showing, yeah, GameStop not the fun company it was in the early 2000s.
Yeah, if there was a theme to this week's news, it is companies who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Embracer, Ubisoft, and GameStop, the
And
trifecta.
Steam. And Steam maybe
Steam.
as well.
Well, yeah, this was a bad call by Steam, but generally Steam knows what they're
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah,
Any
speaking of no, go
oh
ahead. I don't
one
got do you have a good segue?
um yeah, because I feel like this too is a company who really doesn't know what they're doing. They just get lucky every once in a while. So Strauss Zelnick, CEO of Take Two, who publish a little game series called Grand Theft Auto, um, he made a comment during the last investor call about video games being priced according to like hours provided of enjoyment. And a lot of people took this to mean that he was considering raising prices for games depending on how much like you played them. This is not really what happened. He was answering a question and basically saying something like games offer more value than other forms. Like there's an equation that you can kind of use to figure out like the hours spent per dollar spent type of thing. So just kind of clearing it up. He never said games are going to cost more because they offer more time spent at like playing. But somehow that was the story going around. I don't even know how you could do something like that, to be honest. Like, so if you buy GTA 6 and play an hour, you're going to pay $2, whereas if you play for 10 hours, you're going to pay 20. Like, I don't know. That just doesn't seem like.
Yeah, I mean, like, the closest thing that I can think of is MMO subscriptions. Like, yep, you pay a certain fee every month, but
That
yeah,
would be like, but that's like you pay $15
yeah.
for WoW. It's not like, oh well, I only played. I mean, that'd be kind of cool because it'd be like, oh, I only played a day. I'll
you
only pay
get
for $5 or whatever.
yeah, yeah, that would be really cool. But this for a game like GTA where you're gonna pay $70 up front, that would be very odd. And I do think that this is just one of those things that, in all honesty, happens a lot with the games journalism, gaming community, and gamers, is somebody will say something and then it gets misinterpreted for people trying to like just make a big deal out of it, be like, oh, this is why AAA gaming these days is dead. But of course, usually usually these companies are smarter than that, but unfortunately, judging by the news stories that we just talked about, maybe not all the time.
Yeah, not this week. Not this
No,
week.
no.
All right. Well, that's all the news
But
I've got. But Noah, you've got our feel good story of the week.
yeah. So of course, it does always suck when companies don't really know what they're doing. But one company that does know what they're doing is Game Makers. Game Maker Studios. They are a game development software very similar to things such as Unity, which of course, oh sorry, and I forgot, they're not Game Maker Studios, they're just called Game Maker. So they actually are providing a new, advertisement in which if you're going to create a game for a non-commercial use, they're actually allowing you to use their product for free. They haven't really said why they're doing this, but the common theory is that it's because the whole Unity debacle, game makers probably like, hey, we want to get people familiar with our software. And they're not a unknown game makers. They're not an unknown game development software. Hotline Miami and Undertale were both used using Game Maker. So the fact that they're essentially letting people use it for free, so long as they're not providing a commercial use for it, is really nice. And speaking of other companies that are nice, the top selling game on Steam lately has been a game called Lethal Company, which, for those of you who don't know, Lethal Company is a co-op horror shooter in which it was developed by the company known as, I hope I get this right, Zeekers. And yeah, unfortunately, it's not. It was a solo developer, actually. I don't think it was a company, but it just kind of came out of nowhere. And yeah, it is the best-selling game lately on Steam, which it's always good to hear whenever just a solo developer has a product. People seem to really like it, and it starts doing well. What do you think about this, Simon?
Yeah, I always like, I mean, obviously to a lesser extent, if there's been kind of one thing that's really cool about this year is all these games coming out that were kind of no name games, but, that ended up getting a huge audience. I mean, Baldur's Gate 3 is the biggest game of the year, period. And this was a
Mm-hmm.
game that was on nobody's radar. Other games, I'm a big fan of Cocoon,
Mm-hmm.
even a game like Dave the Diver, Alan Wake 2. There's been just so many games that, just kind of seem like even if they came out in a slow year, would not have been anything to talk about. And these games are just exploding and doing well. So it's good that, especially a company or a game like Lethal Company,
Yeah.
it's cool that they're kind of getting, their little time to shine. And I mean, this is the time to do it. It's been a crazy year, but the rest of this month and next month are obviously a little slower. And January, I think, is a little slower too. So hopefully this shows other publishers to maybe spread your games out a little bit and try to find a spot on the calendar where you can have a little bit of breathing room so that you can hit it big. But yeah,
Yeah.
good for the devs of Lethal Company.
Yeah, so I'm reading it and it says by a solo developer, Zeker. So I think it's just one guy, which
That's
how
very
do you
impressive.
yeah, how especially because you reviewed a game that was created only by 4 people earlier this year,
Yeah, it was
correct?
really bad.
Yeah, so the fact that if this is just one guy who created this game all by himself, that's incredibly
Yeah, good.
impressive and that's really
That's
great.
yeah. So hopefully he's able to build a little staff, and I can't wait to see what he does next. And
Yeah.
I'll check this out. Maybe here's more reason to get my Steam Deck, which I don't own
Yep.
yet, but cool. Well, that is all of the news. Thanks for both of those, Noah. Those were cool. I
No
didn't hear about
problem.
those at all.
Nope, no problem.
So was there anything else you want to go through, or are you ready to jump right into our topic of the week?
I think we'll go ahead and we'll just jump into our topic. That's all
All
right.
right. Yeah, I'm good if you are. This will
Yep.
probably just end up being a little shorter episode just because it is the holidays and stuff, a little crazier. So
Mm-hmm.
less news, and then we'll see how this discussion goes, I guess.
Yeah, this discussion could go one of two ways. It could either go very short or very, very long.
Yeah. So this week we are talking about Kingdom Hearts. We'll kind of just be talking about all of them, primarily 1 and 2, because and probably a little bit of Birth by Sleep. If any
Yeah.
Kingdom Hearts games make it onto this, it would be one of those 3. I guess 3 maybe has a chance, but I haven't played it. No, you haven't played it either, have you?
I haven't played it either, and from what I've heard from other people, it's not quite as noteworthy as 1 and 2 were.
Okay, so yeah, so 1 and 2 and Birth by Sleep. If any of them make it on the top 100 list, it's going to be one of those 3. Like I don't see Chain of Memories or 358 over
No.
2 or whatever.
Which
Whatever.
Chain of Memories was a great Game Boy Advanced game, but
I still don't think it's
yeah, exactly.
Well, we'll just see how the discussion goes. But as per usual, Noah, please, what do you like? What do you not like? Who would you recommend it to? Spoiler free, very briefly, go.
So it's a little difficult because we're talking about an entire franchise. I would say what I like, the premise. It's something that is even in today's day where companies are trying to combine their IPs, it's such a random and weird combination, Final Fantasy and Disney. Not to mention the gameplay itself is really fun. What I don't like the how complicated and how childish the franchise becomes later on. And what who I'd recommend it to? I'd recommend it to Disney fans, JRPG fans, and people who just want something a little weird and a little wacky, a little out there.
Yeah, so something I like. I do like kind of the the combat. This kind of came at a time where like most JRPGs did have turn-based combat, and so the fact that this one had like real time was pretty cool.
Yeah.
What I didn't like
I
is
actually, as a kid, thought it was like the first real-time combat JRPG.
it's probably it was up there. I mean, there was like Secret of Mana and stuff, but none quite as in depth as this. But sorry, totally lost my train of thought.
No, you're good.
What I don't like is because every level is just like a Disney World, you spend so much of the game like just playing through it's Disney movie, but what if anime came? And so it's like not very it's like hard to get motivated to get through the levels. But who'd I'd recommend it to? Disney fans, probably less so like Final Fantasy fans, but JRPG fans, there's stuff in there for you. Yeah, so with that being said, we are going to go on to full spoilers. Maybe it's Kingdom Hearts. I don't know if you can spoil it because I don't know if anybody really knows what's going on. But so if you don't want to know any spoilers for Kingdom Hearts, any of them, don't, we'll see you next week, I guess.
Yep.
Maybe not. Maybe we'll still be talking about it.
Kingdom Hearts Part 1 and Part 2.
Yeah, seriously.
Oh no, we'd have to call it like Kingdom Hearts Part 1 and then Kingdom Hearts 288 4/.
No, the first one would be Kingdom Hearts 2, the prequel, and then the second one would be Kingdom Hearts 3, the prequel 2, or something stupid. Because that's the way
it'd be
works.
like the prequel 2, and then the third one would be like Kingdom Hearts: The Dawn of Innocence.
Sure. So yeah, kind of where do you want to start with this?
Let's just start at the very beginning. Yeah, I say we're going to go ahead and, like any other good story, we're going to start from the very beginning. So with that in mind, we are going to start with Kingdom Hearts Missing Link. So no,
Kingdom Hearts it's actually Kingdom Hearts Cross back cover is the first chronologically, and yes, that is its actual name.
Okay, so I'm also saying Kingdom Hearts Cross Dark Road.
Oh, maybe I'm thinking of Union or something.
No, I think that there's two, but no, for the sake of sanity, let's just start from Kingdom Hearts 1 from the PlayStation 2.
Yeah, so let's
Missing Link is apparently a new mobile game that's coming out soon.
Yeah, let's not even like worry about let's just do 1, 2 and Birth by Sleep. Because like I said, the other ones
and I think also Chain of Memories, because Chain of Memories is very important to the game's story.
Yeah, but is it gonna? I mean, we don't really care about the story. We're here to kind of discuss: is it gonna make it on the top 100?
Yep, that's fair. That's fair.
So, yeah, let's just start with 1. I mean, I played through these games actually not long ago. Well, I guess actually it's been quite a few years now. My original goal was to try to beat them all before 3 came out. That did not happen. It took me a lot longer to beat these than I wanted to. So I still haven't played 3 because while playing these, I realized I do not like these games very much.
Jeez.
And it sucks because I did like them as a kid, and like actually, well, and the weird thing is like I beelined through 1 when I replayed it. I really liked it. I thought the combat was good. It did a good job of like the Disney worlds, even though you were mostly following the plot of the movies. They were like they had enough little twists that they were fun to play.
Well,
and
I remember as a kid just sliding around on the vines in the Tarzan level was just super fun.
Yeah, and like you had like the Little Mermaid kind of rhythm
Hmm.
stuff. Like there was a lot of cool stuff in that game. And it's funny because I always thought that like the combat in one was not very good, and
Hmm.
two is where it got like good, actually like fun combat. But
Hmm.
playing through it, two is almost like simpler. Like the game is easier, so you
Hmm.
kind of just like push buttons to win. Whereas in one, because it is like less,
Easy.
yeah, you kind of have to think about what you're doing. You kind of have to like plan accordingly. You can't just spam buttons to win. You don't have as many tools at your disposal, which makes you have
Hmm.
to kind of like think about what you're doing. You have to like be better about how you're using those tools. And I don't know if that's
Okay.
like a unpopular opinion, but I greatly enjoyed playing one more. So
Yeah.
I blew, like I said, I blew through one. I actually blew through Chain of Memories.
Hmm.
And then two, I hit a wall like pretty early on just because I was like,
Huh.
this is not, I don't know if maybe I was just trying to play too many of the same type of game, but I just dropped off for a while.
Huh. All right. Well, yeah, that's interesting because I haven't played these games in a couple of years, and that was always my thing. I liked one, but two was
Where
up
you
to that
loved it.
point. Yeah, exactly. Two was before Alan Wake. It was my favorite game of all time, and yeah, that's really interesting. I do remember as a kid, one was super difficult, and that was part of the reason I didn't like it. And two, I never really struggled with the difficulty, but I could see how that could definitely affect it. And that could definitely affect how somebody as an adult can enjoy it, which I do think that there is kind of part of a issue that Kingdom Hearts does have, not so much with the earlier entries, but more the later entries of a weird identity crisis in the sense that it's like this is a game made for kids, and Disney, of course, has a huge role in it, so that's why they want to keep it family friendly. But there's also so much story that gets so confusing. It's like, what kid would want to play this game?
Well, not only that, but name another video game franchise that started in what, like 2002, that's been
Hmm.
going on for 20 or however many years, that has such a large number of games in its series that are
Hmm.
all so important. Like Metal Gear Solid is the only one I can think of that's kind of close. But even then, you can play, like, with the exception of like 1, 2, 3, and 4, which are definitely like part of their own story. But even all of those, I feel like you could play the Metal Gear games and get the individual story decently enough. Whereas with
Hmm.
Kingdom Hearts, you cannot play any Kingdom Hearts. You can
Hmm.
play Kingdom Hearts 1 and Birth by Sleep, and I
Hmm.
guess Chain of Memories by themselves. The rest
Hmm.
of them, you can't play two without one. You can't even play two without Chain of Memories, really.
Yeah, because I remember that was a thing
We did
playing.
as
I
kids.
That's what I did as a kid. I thought Chain of Memories was a remake of one, or I guess a demake of one, or a port for the Game Boy Advance, and it wasn't like I was a stupid. I mean, I was a stupid kid, but I was interested in gaming and such. I've got Nintendo Powers every
Well, do
month.
you remember what we did
I remember you bought Chain of Memories and I bought two, correct?
the same day?
Yeah, and
Because we found out Chain of Memories was important to two, and you were like, "But I just want to play two," and I was like, "That's fine. I'll play Chain of Memories, and I'll just tell you what
yeah,
happens." And
well,
I didn't really matter. Like,
yeah, and I remember something that is kind of funny and also a little ironic is I didn't want to beat one. I was like, you know what? I don't care. I just want to play two. I just want to buy two. And you're like, no, like you need to beat one for the story's sake. Like this is made by the same people who make Final Fantasy, and this is what you said. You said Final Fantasy games are notorious for their story, and you need to play all of them to understand it.
like, well, what would I have been? I would have been like 12, having never
Yeah,
played a Final
you're just
Fantasy.
completely talking out of your ass.
I probably heard that the games were like just good stories, which they are, and I was like,
Yeah.
well, okay. Yes.
Well, I also think that
I just
you
want to
also.
say that.
Oh,
Go
sorry, go
ahead.
ahead.
Okay,
All right.
I'll go first.
Yeah, you go ahead. You go ahead.
My reasoning was wrong.
Mhm.
I was right.
In what way? Oh, yes. Okay, that's fair.
In fact,
But
Noah, I'm going to be as
yeah.
bold to say nobody could have predicted how right I would be. Nobody would have predicted that you would need to play every single goddamn spin-off in this fucking series to know anything that's going on.
And what's crazy is this was a prediction made by a kid who thought Squall was the protagonist of Final Fantasy and Cloud was the main antagonist.
But doesn't that just prove how messed up this series is? Somebody who had no idea about anything that they were talking about ended up
Didn't
being
even know
so.
Sephiroth existed.
Yeah, and I still ended up being so right.
I mean, that's why we're the ranked 829th podcast, baby.
Yeah.
All right, but uh, going
Anyway,
back
what were
to
you
it,
saying before
I have no idea.
You're like, you
That this
stopped
is what
me.
Kingdom Hearts does to you. It just
It breaks
it
you.
it breaks you in your mind. But let's go ahead and we've talked a lot about the story and how confusing it is. Let's go ahead and let's just talk about Kingdom Hearts 1 story.
Yeah, I mean, I think that one, and that's kind of why, going back to me enjoying my playthrough of one so much more than the other ones. One has a simple story, it's kind of like almost stereotypical, like a fantasy story where a kid is swept up into another world. And then this one, he's looking for his friends. And he gets to see all kinds of strange worlds and stuff. And I think oh, go ahead.
Along with that, isn't also the main storyline Maleficent's trying to steal the hearts of the Disney princesses which
to do bad stuff. And that's the thing, like, and I think that the one almost sets up all these problems for the rest of the franchise, because everything in one is so stereotypical and like vague, like, oh, it's all just the darkness is attacking. And and that's like a fantasy trope, like the darkness is attacking and the darkness is always just like this force. And that always works for like a book or a movie. And then you beat the darkness.
Alan Wake.
Yeah. And then you beat the darkness and everything's fine. But in Kingdom Hearts, like, that ends up being like this, it's a JRPG. So it ends up morphing into this huge thing that JRPGs are known to morph into, which I feel like just doesn't really hold up. But in one, it works really well. You've got like the big heartless monsters that are not just like the kind of cannon fodder, but the big ones. I don't know what they're called, but they're they're intimidating and they're really cool to look at. And the character designs, people make fun of like Sora and his clown shoes, which he does have clown shoes. But I mean that when this game came out, the designs were cool. Seeing like Knight, like Goofy, they did a good job of like making a cool JRPG versions of Donald and Goofy. And then even like Sora and Riku, like the game is nice to look at, and like all of like the stained glass, like the kind of art design is really cool. I guess what I'm saying is presentation in general is really good, because the music's fantastic too. The music cannot be overstated. It is a gorgeous soundtrack.
And going back to the clown shoes things, I kind of feel like that's
this
a
is
little
what
bit
I
of
want to talk about.
Yeah, well, a little. I feel like it's kind of a reference to Mickey Mouse. Mickey Mouse, he does have big ol' yellow-like shoes and a lot of depictions. So I feel like that was kind of a reference.
No, I think you're right. I think it was.
I find it funny how nobody mentions what the hell is like the One Piece Sora is wearing in that game. Like, just Google a picture of Sora from Kingdom Hearts 1 and look at it. It's this weird One Piece thing.
Yeah,
and
you're
it's
right.
got a zipper all the way down to his crotch. It's super weird looking back at it.
Yeah, you're right.
But
it's like a swimsuit onesie with a jacket and gloves and clown shoes and a lot of zippers.
Exactly. It's a Rob Liefeld's JRPG character.
Yeah.
But
including bad feet.
But regardless, the upper torso is really cool. And even though we're not talking about Kingdom Hearts 2, his Kingdom Hearts 2 design is very good.
Yeah, I think his Kingdom Hearts 2 design, he did start to get a little messy. I'm actually looking at his Kingdom Hearts 3 design. Yeah, I think all the designs are fine. They are
Yeah.
a little over the top and ridiculous, but they do kind of work in the context of the
Yeah.
game.
But going back to the story real quick,
Yeah.
I think something that is really cool that I don't believe the other entries do, they actually incorporated Disney into the story, with Maleficent trying to take the hearts of the princesses and using them for a purpose.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the only time they've really had the Disney play a major part in the story. I know Pete and Maleficent are still like the big bads, but or not the big bads, but a big bad, but I feel like they're just antagonists. They're not really using Disney so much for plot reasons. It's more just, yeah, these are two bad guys that you fight as bosses later on.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. I do think that one kind of had the best implementation of kind of the Disney stuff. Yeah, I mean, we've mostly been talking about one. I'm trying to think if like two does anything better, but I don't. I mean, two did increase the lore, which I guess if you're a hardcore Kingdom Hearts fan, you probably do like. But I feel like that is kind of, and it is faster, which can sometimes feel better. But I think in general, like, I don't know. I think honestly, if I were to, like I said, kind of, I think the three best ones are 1, 2, and Birth by Sleep. And I think of those three, 2 is the worst one. I
Really?
think.
So,
I think
as a kid, I thought 2 was really fun. I thought that there's a lot of little mini games. The Little Mermaid mini game, for example, was a rhythm game. There's the little light cycle moment in the Tron world. Of course, there's like the triangle button stuff that you did, which could do a random action depending on the enemy, and there's the little drive forms as well. So I felt like 2 was a lot of fun. Why? You mentioned earlier that you felt like 2 was a little simplistic. Is there any other reasons that you feel like 2 is a little unrelated?
it's a little what?
A little overrated, sorry.
Oh, well, no, the big reason is just like I said, because the game is simpler, you kind of just mash buttons to win. Sora, like you can go into like the super mode and even like the combat, you can really just like mash square. You don't really need magic or anything. Yeah, it feels easier. And then, like I said, I feel like the individual Disney worlds, like the Mulan level, is just like the story of Mulan, but then also the Heartless are there, and so. Whereas I feel like the first game merged kind of the Kingdom Hearts lore with the Disney movies better. I feel like 2 doesn't do that as well. It is just, and there are some exceptions. Like I think like the Tron level in 2 is one of the better worlds. And like same with like the Pirates of the Caribbean level. I think that one's
was
pretty
the
cool.
one I was thinking of.
But I feel like in general, like the Mulan level, I love Mulan. That's when I just fell off the game because I just was like, I do not care about this at all.
Yeah, and I think that's something.
I'm trying to
really
think
cool
of what were the other worlds in 2.
There was, I think Aladdin was in it again, correct?
Yeah, and that's the same thing. Like it was just kind of Aladdin with Heartless.
Yeah, and then Aladdin
and Lion
was
King.
in it.
Lion King was the same thing.
Oh, Lion King was cool though because
Lion King was cool because you got to play as animals, but the plot was not engaging during those sections because it was all just like very, like I said, just that Disney movie mixed with the Heartless.
Yeah. And then Beauty and the Beast was also in it as well, correct?
No.
Wasn't there Beast Castle and then you fight the guy with the little?
No, Beast was your ally in was Beast's Castle?
Yeah, because you fight the guy with the spears.
You might be right.
Yeah, he's the little wind guy. You fight him on the bridge.
Oh, in Olympus Coliseum.
And Olympus Coliseum was just the same as Kingdom Hearts 1.
Yeah, I guess actually maybe it was better. Maybe I was just getting burnt out. Twilight Town, Agrabah, Beast's Castle, Olympus Coliseum, 100 Acre Woods, Hollow Bastion, Space Paranoids, The World That Never Was, Atlantica. Yeah, those are fine. But I still think Birth by Sleep is better.
Really? So we talked a little bit about Kingdom Hearts 2, and we talked a little bit about Kingdom Hearts 1. You said that 2 is the worst out of all of them.
Yes.
Pretty much, in your opinion, it's because that's kind of where the series,
I just think that that's
started to form, right?
Yeah, I think by that point they greatly expanded the lore, which cool, but that's also when the game got incredibly complicated. They added like coolish features to the combat, but it ended up just making it too simple to the point where there was no depth to it. It was just mashing buttons. And yeah, I think that those are kind of the biggest problems with the series. And I will say, I think that Birth by Sleep, which is the prequel that was only for like the PSP, I think that that's probably actually the best one.
Really?
But yeah, because the combat has kind of all the cool flashiness of 2, but it's a little bit more challenging and also in depth. Like it's not just as simple. You kind of have to think about your build, and you get to kind of assign different abilities to yourself and how they kind of work together. You have to plan more, and that game can be pretty hard. So you really have to think about like what stats you're equipping. And it also, because it's a prequel, the plot is generally easier to follow. Because you don't really need to play any of the other games because it sets up all the other games. And it's funny that it is a prequel because it is arguably like the most important game in the series. But if it's held back by one thing, it's that you have to play through the game like 3 times. Because you have to play as each of the characters and the worlds are all the same. But the worlds are really cool. You've got Snow White, you've got Cinderella, you've got Peter Pan, Toontown. Like you've got a lot of really cool worlds in this one too.
Which Peter Pan was in the first one and Toontown was in the second one, correct?
Was Peter Pan in the first one?
I know it was in one of and there was a super boss in there that was a little phantom guy at the clock tower in London.
Oh, you're right. Okay. Huh. Lilo and Stitch was Lilo and Stitch in Birth by Sleep? Yeah, Deep Space. Okay. Lilo and Stitch was cool.
So
I think that I think that Birth by Sleep just kind of had those fun classic Disney worlds mixed with some modern ones.
So we talked a little bit about how your main complaint in 2 was that it was just the story of the Disney movie, but they added the Heartless. Does Birth by Sleep remedy that at all, or not really?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, obviously there is still a lot of those ties, but I think because they did go with a lot of like kind of like the Lilo and Stitch level is not Lilo and Stitch at all. It's actually just straight up when Stitch was like in the spaceship, which is kind of cool. Same with like the Peter Pan level. I don't even know if like Wendy and them are involved in it. It's not just the Peter Pan movie. It's almost like a prequel to that. Same with like and then obviously like Snow White and Cinderella. Those are such like simple stories. It's not like, you know, super. I don't know why. I think that they just work. Those movies work better than Mulan, and maybe it's just because Mulan is like such like a plot heavy movie anyway. Like a lot happens in that movie that when you just shove, there's not a whole lot of room to just shove things in.
That makes sense. Yeah, because I remember even Pirates of the Caribbean, they had the interesting gameplay mechanic of like you can fight the skeletons, but only when they're in the moonlight because that's when their skeletons shown. And yeah, I could remember even as a kid, the Mulan world was not as cool. And I think it's also another thing is too that Mulan is just essentially ancient China, which it's like
it's
that's
not
cool.
Super exciting for a.
Yeah, like I love history and I think that's really cool, but compared to the fantastical worlds in a lot of other Disney such, like even Aladdin, which is just kind of in the what time period is that? Arabia?
Yeah,
Like,
Aladdin's based on
I know it's on the
Arabian
Arabian.
Nights,
Yeah, and so
like
at least
Sonic and
that
the
has.
Secret Rings.
Oh yeah, that was my favorite game of all time.
Oh,
Um, so yeah, even like Aladdin, it's like the realistic time period, but they do have fantastical elements. Whereas
oh yeah.
Mulan, it has Mushu and it has the ghosts,
And
but
it has
those
the
don't.
Hun.
But he's not a fantastical element, is he?
Yeah, he
He's
is. He
just
gets crushed by an avalanche and then gets up, and it's like, ugh,
all
that
right.
was
So that guy's
cold.
a. All right. So in Kingdom Hearts 1, at the end of the Aladdin world, you fight Jafar as a genie, and then in Mulan, you fight this guy who survived an avalanche.
Yeah, he's cool.
Alright, that is pretty cool, I'll admit that, but I do think that kind of shows that I think that's part of why it's a little boring, is because there is not really any of that fantastical elements that play a major role. Mushu's great, but he's just a sidekick. A side character for, in this game, a side character.
Yeah, and maybe, and like I said, I just remembered that that's when I hit a wall in the series, and that just totally derailed. And then it took me like 2 years to play through the other 10 games.
Lord.
But yeah, so I know I've been kind of talking. Like I said, I played through them all fairly recently, so I think I've got a little bit better handle on these games than you do, Noah. But maybe not. You've kind of been correcting me.
No.
So between 1 and 2, if you had to put one of them on a top 100 list, which one do you think you'd lean towards?
I was going to say 2, but hearing your complaints, and I can't 100% verify them because it's been such a long time since I've played them, but hearing you say once combat, you had to do more with what you have, I think that makes sense. I remember as a kid, I think something you even told me was Proud Mode, which is the hardest difficulty in 2. You said Proud Mode is essentially easy mode for Kingdom Hearts 1, and I think that for that reason, and just the fact that Kingdom Hearts 1 integrates Disney so better, I kind of feel like Kingdom Hearts 1, if any of them would make it on the list, it's blasphemy, especially in the Kingdom Hearts community, I believe, but I kind of feel like Kingdom Hearts 1 might edge it out just a tad bit.
Yeah, I think if I'm thinking about the series, like I said, I think Birth by Sleep has the best combat, but the fact that you have to play through the game 3 times just to get like the best ending or get any ending really, I think really hurts it, because by that third playthrough, they do a good job of making all the characters play differently, but you're still playing through all the same worlds, and that just gets really dry by the time you get to the third. I mean, it's kind of dry by the time you get to the second one, so by the time you get to the third, it's real bad.
Not to mention, completely unrelated, but man, Kingdom Hearts 1 cover is so good.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and just, I mean, well, honestly, they all have great music. I think that Kingdom Hearts, I'm not the biggest Kingdom Hearts fan, but the Kingdom Hearts title screen has some of the best music, like, period.
Oh, yeah. That is super iconic.
And all the openings are pretty good. I think, obviously people kind of make fun of it, Simple and Clean, but Simple and Clean is better than Sanctuary.
Yeah, I think that's just kind of an opinion piece. Some people would like Simple and Clean more, some people like Opinion. I mean, I think both of them are better than Feel the Flame.
What?
That's, yeah, like from Final Fantasy 16. You good, buddy?
No. I can't. I was hoping there was another Feel the Flame. I can't do this anymore. We're on 10. This is episode 10.
Yeah, this is
10's a good run.
It was. We'll talk to Carlos and be like, yo, is 10 like a pretty good time to end the podcast? He'll just be like, dude, I sent you one email to try to sign up for our services. Stop talking to me.
He's like, I'm sorry. um, Feel the Flame and
No.
Moon Gazing. I love the Kingdom Hearts title screen, and Simple Clean is fine.
See, I feel like comparing moon gazing and simple and clean would be really interesting to a group of people that never play video games, a group of people in Japan who never play video games but are super into music and like J-pop.
I think that I mean, maybe I'm biased. I think that Moon Gazing would come out on top.
I don't. Well, I mean, like I said,
Well, they're
it
also
would be
different. I don't know.
well,
I feel like Moon Gazing, he just puts so much personality into that song.
Well, what do you think is better? Ed Sheeran has a song called Photograph, right?
Probably.
Isn't Ed Sheeran? Yeah. What's better, Ed Sheeran's Photograph or Nickelback's Photograph?
Probably Ed Sheeran's.
Okay,
if it exists. I'm like, I don't know what the song is, but I'm betting money on Ed Sheeran.
So there is a song, Photograph by Ed Sheeran, and I'm not going to listen to it because then we could get copyright struck, but I like how you just were like, if it's Ed Sheeran, it's probably going to be better than Nickelback.
I'm hedging bets with Sheeran.
Yeah.
But that's enough about
music.
All right, I think I'm ready. Noah, are you? Or was there anything else you kind of wanted to discover? So good designs, the idea in general. The combat's not bad, depending on the game. It's at least kind of unique. And the music. I think the music is probably the best part. The plot gets way too out of control. And even the small moments of the plot are just not very engaging.
We do have to, because we're talking about 3 possible games to make it, we kind of need to break down the good and the bad of each of them.
Well, so you haven't played Birth by Sleep, so that one's not making it on the list. You said 1 over 2, so let's really just focus on 1. If we kind of agree that 2 and Birth by Sleep are not making it on the list, let's just focus on 1. Let's just talk about 1. I guess the one thing we didn't really touch on is characters.
They're fine.
Donald and Goofy are great.
Yeah. And I mean, Sora, Kairi, and Riku, they're just kind of JRPG characters.
Yeah, they're nothing. They're very much just like Naruto, Sasuke, and Sakura.
I remember playing Kingdom Hearts 3, and I was like, God, Sora is very unlikable in this, but maybe it was... I mean, did you feel like Sora was unlikable, or did you think he was just fine?
He's just like kind of like stereotypical shonen protagonist, honestly. Like nothing like he loves his friends and like he's not like awful. Like he's not great. Like to be honest, he doesn't really have a personality. His personality is that he likes friends. Like that, it's it's not like he has any really like character growth. Like I don't know. Maybe I missed something, but I was never terribly impressed with the who he is as a character.
It's passable. Like they're passable. It's pretty much from what it seems.
Excuse me.
Like,
it's fine. It's fine. Like and Kairi really doesn't get much to do. She's kind of just. I mean,
she's the girl.
Yeah, she's the girl. Riku is edgelord, and
he's the cool guy.
Yeah, and he's just got so much darkness in his heart for. I don't know why. He has the
cool little sword thing that has like the spikes on it.
And he's the edgy one because he hangs out with Mickey Mouse.
It's true. That's what it is. And Mickey Mouse is notorious.
Mouse is badass.
Yeah, well, Mickey Mouse is one of the edgiest people in modern history.
Yep. Have you seen those shoes?
I mean, just look at everything Disney's done that's like been super questionable over the past couple of years. It's like, that's an edgelord right there if I ever seen one.
That's all right. You ready to make a verdict?
I honestly don't know. Like, it's one of those things where it's like, this Kingdom Hearts was such a big part of my childhood. I'm like, I don't know if I want it to be on the list, but I don't know if it's truly worthy of being on the list. But I guess
is it better than Star Fox 64?
That's the thing. I would say yes, but
Oh.
I also feel like that's my bias coming through. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know, and that's the difficult part.
I just don't think it does. Because, so no, you've kind of mentioned before, like, for an older game, it needs to, like, be, like, still fun to play and important. And Kingdom Hearts, it was big. It was, like, a cultural thing, but it wasn't important. It didn't do anything. Like, it did kind of create, like, a real-time, like, combat, but it's not like, it's not, but even then, it's not like, but it's not like it created that.
I don't think it created it, but I feel like it brought it back.
No,
like,
name a game. That's what I was gonna say. It didn't really, because think about it. We're just now getting, like, kind of real-time combat in JRPGs. Kingdom Hearts came out 20 years ago. It's not like it created a fad.
Exactly. I don't think it created a fad, but I think that what it did is a lot of people who grew up with it took inspiration from that. Like, I think that I believe that the creator for Final Fantasy 16, he of course did create Devil May Cry's combat, but I feel like he also took some cues from Kingdom Hearts as well when creating it.
Oh, really? See, I was going to say the opposite. I feel like he didn't at all. I feel like that was, like, almost made, like, the way I see it is, like, there was, like, the Tales series and Star Ocean, which were, like, kind of doing the same thing.
That's true.
And they were just, like, they just stuck to it. And then at some point, like, Japanese developers are like, oh, well, turn-based is kind of dated. But I don't think the shift from turn-based to real-time had anything to do with Kingdom Hearts. And that's kind of my thing. It is a game that if you were to play it today, you'd be like, oh yeah, that was probably good. But I just don't think that, like, I don't think that these are games that are top 100 games of all time. I don't think any of them are.
Yeah, that's
maybe they're in, like, the 90s, and maybe like I can add them to a short list and we can, like, revisit it at some point. But I just don't think.
Yeah, well, I think the fact that you mentioned the fact that the Tales series and what was the other one?
Star
Ocean were both going on during this entire time. They definitely weren't as big as Kingdom Hearts, and I think that Kingdom Hearts did help fuel the way for more action-based RPGs. I think that, yeah, maybe it wasn't as big as I thought, because I remember Final Fantasy Versus 13 was supposed to be very Kingdom Hearts inspired, but
and then that ended up becoming 15.
Yeah.
And that one, I mean, 15 is clearly inspired by Kingdom Hearts. And I guess you can maybe make the case that I mean, that was the first. Was it the first? No, because even 12 is clearly not inspired by Kingdom Hearts. And that was the first not turn-based one, right?
Yeah.
It was like MMOs based after, like, 11, which is kind of built on MMOs. And that's kind of my point. I don't think Kingdom Hearts really did anything. The one thing it did great is music. I think that is the one thing it did really
and marketing.
Well. And marketing, yeah. And it is a good idea. It is an idea that shouldn't work, and it generally does. I don't think that Kingdom Hearts are bad games, but if we're talking about the top 100 games of all time, these are not. I just don't think that they are. I'm looking at our list right now: Call of Duty, Modern Warfare, Skyrim, Silent Hill, Luigi's Mansion, Star Fox 64, Dead Space.
See, that's the thing that's tough for me on this one, is like, it's you're saying all these things and it's like, Kingdom Hearts fits there, but does it fit because it's well made, or does it fit because it's well known?
I think,
and that's the difficult part for me.
I think that I don't think that it's not poorly made, but I don't think it's well made.
Yeah, I think that
this is how I felt about 64, or about Star Fox 64, by the way.
I think I'm going to have to not put it on the list, purely because I think that if I'm asking too much if I want it on the list because of its cultural relevance. I think I'm gonna have to take it off. I don't think it. I think
Well,
it's
let
gonna
me
have
ask
to
you
go off the
this.
list.
Let me ask you this, and maybe this will make it easier.
Yeah.
What is a better, not which do you like more? What is a better video game, Alan Wake or Kingdom Hearts? Which do you think is
Kingdom
a better
Hearts.
made video? You think
Probably
Kingdom Hearts is a better made video game than Alan Wake?
I love Alan Wake's story.
You might be right. Actually, you might be right.
Yeah, I love Alan Wake's story, but there are flaws to the game. We went out of an entire episode where I mentioned the flaws of this game, and it's like I love Alan Wake, but I love that game just because the story is so good. And Kingdom Hearts, it's like Kingdom Hearts, it's like the combat is better in Kingdom Hearts than Alan Wake.
Oh, really?
Alan Wake. Yeah, because Alan Wake has an interesting gimmick, but like you said, in Kingdom Hearts, it's all about using the tools. Alan Wake, you only have like 5 guns in the entire game, and then
Yeah, I guess
think
that's
I'm
true. In
going
Kingdom
to,
Hearts, you've got like magic. At least you can kind of choose when to use different magics, and I think you've got summons too.
Yeah.
Well,
I think.
Do you want to put it at like 99? Do you want to put it on like a short list, and we can maybe revisit it?
We'll put it on a short list. Yeah, we'll put it on a short list. We'll have a short list of like 5 games that we can't really decide. Because I think for me personally, I would put it above Star Fox 64, but I don't know if that's my bias. I think put it on the short list. I'll try to get around to playing it sometime in the future when I don't have games, and then we can revisit it.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, this is asking a lot from you.
It is.
Play through 1 and 2 and just see which one, if you think any deserves to be on the list.
Okay, sounds good.
I think no. I just think that it's hard because we've only got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We've only got 6 games on this list. I think that once we start filling this out, Kingdom Hearts is going to look out of place. When we put games like just off the top of my head, some of these just fantastic games like Metal Gear Solid, Metroid Prime. I just don't know if Kingdom Hearts is really going to hold up.
Well, it didn't stand out in Smash Bros. With Metal Gear Solid and Metroid.
That's true. Yeah, it was a bigger deal than both of those. We'll see though. Maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'll try to play through it again and see what I think.
Yeah,
but I just, like I said, I played it for the first time. Well, oh god, now I'm like waffling on it.
How about we'll do this? We'll put it on a short list. I'll try to play through it this December, and then I can either say
revisit it.
Yes.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. Sorry. So Kingdom Hearts, you are for consideration. You have your own tab. We'll see. Maybe what we'll do is like maybe we'll wait until we get like 8 games, and then we can do like a tournament where we argue to see which one deserves a spot on the list.
We'll do something in the future. We're kind of experimenting with the podcast format, especially like in last episode. We'll talk about it later, and we'll try to find something.
Yeah. So sorry, Kingdom Hearts, you're not getting on this week, but you're not completely out of the running. You might come back. Yeah. It is such a weird game. It's a game with so much baggage.
It's a game with so much baggage, but also so unique.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
All right. Well, yeah.
Sorry,
moving on.
Moving on. We'll revisit you at some point in the future.
Yeah, I think we got to do something that the Kingdom Hearts franchise has been needed to do for a while, and let's move on.
Yeah, good. That was pretty good. All right, Noah. Before we get out of here, what have you been playing?
I've been playing Cyberpunk 2077. Which
you're playing that fancy new update. Yeah, I wanted to ask you how this is going, because you bought the game like on launch, and you played it on launch and then stopped.
It was worse than that. I bought the game on launch, and I played it on launch on my PlayStation 4. And for those of you who don't know, it was not a good game on the PS4.
Famously, I think everybody kind of knows this, but it was so bad, Sony delisted it from PSN.
Yes, and I've started the game like 3 times. Once when I bought the game, another time when I went to Japan, and it was like, oh, okay, like now the next gen update. and I just started it again because now the game is, from what I
Radically
gathered,
different.
it's essentially complete. This is like the complete version of the game. And for that reason, I'm playing it now and having a really good time with it. I was playing Mafia 2 lately, and I enjoyed that game, but then towards the end, I kind of was like, all right, I'm losing my interest. And I kind of realized that game doesn't hold up that well now that I'm playing another game similar to it. Because I started playing Cyberpunk and I was like, oh, yeah, this game is so much better. Like, I can see how Mafia 2 is a little dated when compared to an next-gen game. And then I realized I was playing the PS4 version of Cyberpunk, so I downloaded the PlayStation 5 version, and I just played that. I was like, holy smokes, this is completely different. Yeah, I'm enjoying it. I might just restart it, and then that way I get to do the beginning from with the new gameplay, but I might not. Maybe I'll just do it and then pick up my save. But I am really enjoying it, though. It's nice that we're finally getting what this game was supposed to be after all those years, and I haven't beaten it yet, but I'm really excited to see what they would do for the sequel.
Cool.
Yep,
yeah,
but
I've kind of been interested in this. I played the game when it launched, when it came out with the like next gen update, and I played it on the Series X, and I did enjoy it. I didn't think it was anything super special, but I did have fun with it. But I've heard kind of pretty good things, and I am interested in trying out the Liberty City, or is it Liberty City?
Yep, I believe it's Liberty. Phantom Liberty.
Phantom Liberty. I always say Liberty
I
City,
was like,
but
that's
like that
GTA.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to play the Phantom Liberty stuff. I might have to try that at some point. Yeah, I've just been playing Skyward Sword a little bit. I also picked up Star Wars Jedi Survivor.
Oh, nice.
I played that like very briefly. I forgot that game's like almost a Souls-like. It's like a Souls-like Metroidvania.
Yeah, the game. It's an interesting game.
But it's cool. I like it. It's like very much, it's fun playing it. He's he's a Jedi. He's not like, well, I don't know how to do this. He's very much like he very minor spoilers for the beginning of the game. But like what kind of the first boss is one of like the Inquisitors, who gives you a lot of trouble in the first game. And it is like very much like a even fight. Like
that's cool.
You immediately feel powerful. You feel like
sweet.
a Jedi. It's not like we're gonna take away all your stuff.
They don't pull a Metroid here.
Yeah, I mean they do, but what they do is then for that first kind of level, they slowly introduce it back. And so it's not like, oh, he lost all his powers. It's more like he's just hasn't used them yet. And then like the different like stances, like you start off with just your lightsaber, and then he gets in a fight, and during a cutscene he splits it into two, and it's like, okay. So
it's
like,
kind of like a movie in a sense.
Yeah, it's just like he's not using this, and then once he uses it, now you can do it. So it's
okay, that's cool.
And it's more like to get you like acclimated with all the different things. So I'm excited to kind of dig deeper into that. And like I said, again, just playing some Skyward Sword, really refreshing to kind of play a traditional Zelda. I love Tears of the Kingdom, but I forgot how much fun just kind of a traditional Zelda dungeon can be. And I should be wrapping that up like sometime this week or next week. Which, speaking of next week, I'm having surgery on Thursday. So I don't know if there'll be a new episode. It's like a minor surgery. So maybe we'll do it Saturday. But if there is no new episode, that's why. It's because I had surgery and I'm not up to it. But I'm hoping I'll be good enough to do it. All right, before we get out of here, Noah, what do you want to plug?
So in Japan, we don't have Thanksgiving because
no turkeys.
Exactly. Yeah, that's the reason. There's no turkeys in Japan, so they're like, well, we would love to be thankful for things, but we don't have turkeys. So, and the thing is, even in today's day and age, it's not so much that there's no turkeys; it's the fact that Japan, everything's so small, they don't have the big ass ovens to make the turkey in. And
yes, of course.
yeah, so instead, I'm not going to plug anything because I didn't get to celebrate Thanksgiving. I'm not going to plug anything in. I'm going to instead say what I'm thankful. And I am thankful that there are big ovens that people can enjoy turkeys in.
Yep.
Thank
you, Noah.
Yep. So yeah,
I'm gonna plug stuff.
Okay, go ahead. You have fun.
No, I'm thankful for this podcast. It's been a lot of fun. Like I said, this is our 10th episode, and I hope we get to fill out the top 100 one day.
Yeah.
But let's just keep going how it is. But now on to the stuff I'm gonna plug. Is it gonna play my outro? Oh, it's actually playing my outro today.
Ooh.
I'm gonna wait. Thank you to Pecan Pie on Upbeat for our intro and outro songs. Thank you to Zach Robinson for our logo. And thank you to Gabrielle Esty for editing this podcast and maybe doing some more fun stuff with that too. If you liked this podcast, you can find other episodes on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Google Podcast. If you want to send us an email, you can do so at gamedisc.podcast@gmail.com. You can send us questions, suggestions, or anything you want. You can also find me on Twitch at Smesty. I haven't been on in a while. I'm trying to find a new game to play. Maybe I'll go back to Street Fighter or something. You can find Noah in Nagoya, Japan, if you're there. And we will see you all next week. Maybe, depending on my surgery. Maybe we'll see you in 2 weeks, but we will see you again.
Alrighty
Bye.
then. Bye. Bye. Also, my birthday's tomorrow.
Oh,
Bye.
shit, you're right. Happy birthday. Actually.
Oh, thank you. I was expecting you to just like